This episode of Tales from the Lot is sponsored by ShakedownT-shirts.com with unique lot-style T-shirts, license plate frames, coffee mugs, and all sorts of things for Grateful Dead, Fish, Zappa, Panic, and more. ShakedownT-shirts.com, where all U.S. orders over $35 ship free. And just for Tales from the Lot listeners, use the code LOT20 for 20% off of any order. That's LOT20. Tales from the Lot, episode 18, always feeling like some 69. I got CP here to talk 5690 at Cal State, the 48 Laws of Power, and the fine wine that is the Grateful Dead music catalog. Here we go. Hi, welcome to Tales from the Lot. I'm Will. My guest today is CP from Tucson, Arizona. He's here to talk about 5690 at Cal State and a bunch of other stuff too, I'm sure. So how's it going, CP?
Good. How you doing, Will?
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for coming on here. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
So let's just dig in. So what were you into prior to the Grateful Dead musically?
It was, classic rock. I grew up in the 70s and 80s. So when I think my first concert, very first concert that I went to was Oingo Boingo, and they were really big, like the mid 80s. And I remember my dad drove me and my buddies there. We dropped us off at there. We were like, now leave, and we went in. I don't remember, probably 14 or 15,
Right.
So that was
what's their
first
song? I know the band, but what's their big song? I can't
like Dead Man's Party, Only a Lad. I mean, they had so many hits, because it's Danny Elfman, and now he does all the movies, right? So that was my first experience, like kind of being out in a crowd and doing that. Then we started getting into classic rock. So I went to Rush, went to Lollapalooza, and all those bands that were there. The first Lollapalooza back, like Perry Farrell, or Jane's Addiction and Ice-T. It was pretty wild. Susie and the Banshees. Nice. So a lot of it was classic rock and then alternative. Like, I guess I don't even know what alternative is now because I pretty much just listen to, this kind of music. But yeah, and then
that's kind of how I was.
Yeah.
In the 90s, I found the Dead and was just like, oh, I got my Dead blinders on now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. So I remember hearing of the Dead, and there was a smaller group of guys and gals at my high school that kind of liked the Dead. They had the T-shirts and all the stuff, and I didn't really, I don't know, it really wasn't calling to me, I guess. I think I heard some music and I was like, whatever, I don't know. I wasn't ready, I guess. And then I probably heard Truckin' or Casey Jones, one of like the ones to draw you in,
Right.
It was more poppy, kind of more like this other stuff. But I just remember like when I first heard it, like certainly nothing like, Dark Star would have resonated at that time.
Right.
And I wasn't really, and I was pretty much just a drinker, so in high school we drank, maybe puffed a little bit, but mostly drinking. So I don't think I was vibrating at the right level for this yet.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. As we were talking right before we started here, we're right about the same age. So I same boat with you. I was definitely not doing much other than drinking some Miller Genuine Draft or something.
Yeah, the banquet.
Listening to some classic rock, which my local station would sometimes play Truckin'. I remember. And then I remember later on, after I'd found the band, realizing, that song that kept playing that I always liked,
right,
it's a Grateful Dead song.
Yeah, it's funny because I think that happened a lot with me, where it was like, oh, I didn't realize that was the Dead. I think when Touch of Grey came out. Although, when did Touch of Grey come out? It was mid 80s or was it late 80s?
87 or 88, 87 or 88, I think.
So that came out, and then they were sort of more, mainstream-ish because they were on the radio more.
Yeah.
But still, it just didn't really, it was like, whatever, so they had some hits, just like all the other bands pretty much back then, you'd listen to because you're on the radio. Like it's so, the musical experience is so different now. And then also, being a Deadhead, it's also different in that, you kind of focus on that catalog and the live music. Yeah.
It's a good time to be alive though, if you're Deadhead, because you really, every show is at your fingertips. Like, if you're feeling like some 69, you can go get yourself some 69.
Always feeling like some 69.
Yeah, I had just to reiterate that. And then, if you're feeling like some 89 or even some Cal State 690, it's
Right.
at your fingertips like today.
Yes. Yeah.
It's amazing.
I think there's the one you have to pay for. I can't remember what it's called, and I don't know if we're allowed to say it on here, but the app, is it Nugs or?
Oh,
I
yeah,
think it's Nugs.
Okay.
Yeah, Nugs. And I had that, and I thought that was cool, but I couldn't find my show on there. And this is a while back when it was kind of newer. And then somebody showed me re-listen, and I was like, holy moly, why didn't somebody tell me about this? And then he's like, I am telling you about it, but no, and somebody else earlier. And then I found my show, right? I was like, oh, I found Dominguez Hills. And when I played it, I played it without looking at the set list because I wanted to just listen. And I'm like, holy shit, I can't believe I got this as my first show, like I had no idea. And I appreciated it because it was the first time that I ever took LSD, but I didn't really know a lot of the songs, right? Like it's so I remember Terrapin playing, and the clouds are doing their thing, they're swirling and just like what is this, and it was like boom. I mean, that was it. I was hooked from Terrapin. Like it was just like, I can't believe this is like it's like an orchestra or something. You're just going, how are they doing that? How is a band doing that? And then like when they were when they were going from one song into another, I was like, did they just like fade into another? I'm like, trying to figure it all out. And then, obviously with the help of the increased serotonin and all that, it was pretty wild.
Yeah, right there with you. That was the first time I'd ever done it. And looking at the set list, I see there's a few similar songs. Like my first show opened up with a half step also, but I also noticed there's a Standing on the Moon at your first show, which that's the song. Like I had a great time. Same as you, I wasn't real into it before I got there, but my buddy sort of convinced me to go, and I took a little LSD, and it turned into a great thing from note one of Half Step. But Standing on the Moon, just the lyrics of it, and just what it was about, it may not have been a situation that I've been in or whatever, but I understand the lyrics and the heaviness of how they present that song and every other song too. Whether it's a slow song or a fast song, but that's where I just really got the storytelling that happens with the Grateful Dead was Standing on the Moon.
Yeah. I didn't I don't remember I don't remember it from the show. Like I remember Terrapin, and then it went into drums, and I like laid on the ground, and I think I zoned out and got back up around when Throwing Stones came on, and I hadn't even heard Throwing Stones, so I was like, what, and everybody's doing, dancing and doing the thing. And I was just like, this is the most amazing thing ever. Right. Like, this is just unbelievable. And then Love Light, I was like, what's this? And I didn't know any of the names of the songs. And I was just like, I was just hooked. Like they got me,
And how quickly were you on to see other shows after that?
So this is, I'm a junior. Like, I mean, I got home, we got home fairly late, and somebody from our group apparently went. There were a bunch of like notables at this show, like a lot of like I don't I want to say Kesey, but I don't know if it was Kesey. It was either Kesey or Timothy Leary, and I don't know if one of them was dead and I'm doing this wrong or whatever. But one of those guys was there, and ended up, like, a couple of my buddies ended up somewhere with like their group, and they had a nice tank in their place, and they had a whole experience. We went home, we went out and tried to eat, which, that was fairly difficult to power a burger down. And I remember we went to this place in Pasadena that was like more of a gangbanger hangout. And we're in our tie-dyes, and, the only ones in tie-dyes in the place. And we just, it was crazy tripping. And then we forced this food down, went home, and I couldn't sleep. You know how you can't sleep. And the fan was singing, it was like replaying the concert the whole time while I was trying to nod off. Eventually fell asleep, but that was wild.
I remember coming home from my first dead show, and I was not ready to sleep at all. Just replaying from pulling into the parking lot,
yes,
all the way through. Yeah. Like what an experience that was, and the anticipation of, holy shit, when can I work out doing that again?
Right. Yeah. And so I don't know if the next one was a dead show, but I went to, so between this, that show, and then when Jerry died, I went to a good amount of dead shows, like mostly in Vegas. Like I'd go to all the Vegas ones, all the Phoenix ones, and then maybe some in California. And then we'd go to Jerry Band, and we'd go to Bob and Rob. And I really liked Bob and Rob. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Like, it was wild.
I missed out on that.
Just those two guys doing that, like that was something.
I had a few tapes, and I played them all the time. Big fan of Bob and Rob, but I never had a chance to see him.
And did you go to any Jerry Band?
No, not when Jerry was alive.
Oh man, it was a whole different thing. Like it was just, it was just, he's playing so much Dylan, and it was just phenomenal. Like those shows, and that was a lot of
the Motown-ness of that too, with the background singers,
so soulful.
I love Jerry, and my favorite Jerry is in Jerry Garcia Band. I mean, he's great in the Dead too, but there's just something about the soul that goes on in JGB between him and Melvin, and just all and John.
It was so solid, and just you'd be at such peace. We went to one, like, I don't know, it was at a beach. It was like somewhere, like maybe it was Ventura. I want to say Ventura. Maybe it was Ventura. I don't know. It was at some beach, and it was phenomenal. And we did that one. Then we went on Jerry's 50th. We were at Irvine Meadows, and one of my I went with my two buddies, this guy Jared and this guy John, and John had this really cool, like, it had the wood pipe, and then it had like this granite, and he said, well, in the parking lot we ate a bunch of mushrooms, and then we also had LSD. I don't know what the thinking was behind that, but this is, early college thinking. And then we got in, and he pulled that pipe out, and he had like a half ounce or an ounce. He had a ton. And he said, we are going to smoke 50 bowls for Jerry's 50th birthday today.
Oh,
and
shit.
I mean, if we didn't hit it, we were damn close, but it was a wild, long day.
Wow.
It was amazing. That was a good time.
Speaking of day, I was going to ask you about that Cal State show. Was that an early show? Because I noticed when they were playing "Feel Like a Stranger," they're talking about it's going to be a long, long, crazy afternoon.
Yeah, it was day.
It was like an early show.
Yeah, we got there we got there in the morning. Like we were there in the morning, like drinking, and then I think 10 or 11, we probably took the little tabs, and then so there was my buddy Dave who drove, and he's like, I drove to Canada with him. He's a really cool dude. He lives in Nicaragua now, like makes chocolate in Nicaragua, like just typical, Path of the Deadhead does some, and and then this other guy, Brian, and Brian hadn't ever done it either, and he was like same boat, hadn't ever been to a Dead show, hadn't ever taken LSD, and I feel so weird saying it on here, so I say it real fast. Like it isn't the same as saying it.
This is a safe space. This is a safe space. It was in the past, so it's okay.
Right, and it's all hypothetical anyway, because the past doesn't even exist. So
no, it's all simulation.
It is. Yeah, and so Brian and I were having when it came on, especially the first time, like it came on. And I remember distinctly, like somebody walking along with the tie-dye, and it turned on, like the tie-dye was alive, like the lights turned on, it was doing its thing. And I was like, we were playing like catch with the Frisbee or something. And I saw this tie-dye, and I'm like, wait, what the hell what's going on? And they're like, oh yeah, they must, the tie-dyes are on now, and it was like, holy crap. And that's when it took off. And then shortly thereafter, like somebody with the Frisbee, it hit some guy. It hit this guy in the nose, and like he got a bloody nose and started squirting everywhere. And like I didn't think anything of it, but this guy, Brian, like he saw it and it like he lost it. And so he like, I guess you'd call it bad trip, right? Like he just was like he was comatose the entire time. Like we had to walk him in to get him to the blanket. Then it was like he had a blanket over his head. Like he was just, I just wanted to, it was like I would go try to help him. And then my buddy Dave's like, no, you have to stay away from him. You have to stay. He's okay. Don't worry about him. You need to take care of yourself and just focus on the show,
Yeah. Let him write it out.
And I'm like, okay, you're like, listen to the expert that's 1 year older than,
Yeah.
But, yeah, poor guy. He said, I remember after the next day, he's like, I'm never having that again. And I was like, oh man, it was great. So
that's terrible.
Yeah. Bummer.
I get it. You're tired of the same old music festival routine, the day-old porta potties, overpriced food and water, finding the perfect spot for your 10 by 10 foot tarp. Well, I've got the answer to all your festival and concert going troubles. Introducing the Hippie Hologram Music Festival app and mini projector. One moment, you're nestled comfortably in your beanbag chair, surrounded by the soothing aroma of incense and the low light of your lava lamp. And then, shazam! Your living room becomes the epicenter of the ultimate music festival experience. With the Hippie Hologram app and mini projector, you can teleport to the grooviest festivals without ever leaving the comfort of your home. Picture it, your snazziest tie-dye onesie, and thousands of holographic pals. And you can dance like nobody's watching, because nobody is! And forget about missing out on festival eats. We've partnered with the industry leader in food delivery service, Grateful Groceries. Every new order of Hippie Hologram Music Festival app and mini projector will include a full year of Grateful Groceries.
Oh, wow!
It's the full festival experience without all the mud or trying to find your tent in the dark. It's the Hippie Hologram app and mini projector.
We went to a lot of Vegas shows. So, and probably was like, there's a couple of guys I could get on here that would be interesting and fun to hear from.
I would love to. Yeah. You got my email. Send them on over.
The Vegas shows
that like the Thomas and Mack Center or something? Is that
Sam Boyd Silver Bowl?
Oh, yeah. That's right.
They might have played at Thomas and Mack at some point, but I was always at the Silver Bowl. We'd go stay at Sam's Town in Henderson, and then Silver Bowl is right there. Well, pretty close, like you could take a cab. They didn't have Uber, obviously. I don't know if the younger listeners know what a cab is, but we had to take a cab.
No. You would go to a phone booth and call a cab, and
yes, they don't know what any of those things are. Using a quarter.
Yeah. And I would look it up in the back of the book.
Yeah, phone book, all these things, right? Like they got none of it. Yeah. They one show that I really remember well was Dave Matthews opened. And I remember like, who's Dave Matthews? At that time it was like, who's this guy? And like, he really got the crowd going. Like it was a lot of fun. Like he opened and did a really good job. And then it started pouring rain. So it was like one of those shows where you're down on the floor of this place, just getting soaked the whole time. Thunder, lightning. It was crazy. And they didn't like call it off, there was like lightning, like in crazy thunder. And then, so anybody that was there, at this particular one would remember, because it was the encore. It was either encore, the end of the first set was Here Comes Sunshine, and they hadn't played Here Comes Sunshine. And I don't know, the older guys who are now probably 90 are saying, like, they haven't played that in 27 years. It was like some big deal, whatever it was, 20 years or 15 years. I don't know, but that was cool. And it was like, as they were playing it, the rain stopped, the clouds opened, the sun was like, it's just like, how did they do that?
They're magic like that. I remember when they did start playing that song again, everybody was hoping, maybe with the that was a sign that they were going to start bringing back a whole bunch of old stuff because it was like so long gap between when they started playing that one again, and then eventually we did get Unbroken Chain and a few other things that hadn't been played in a while.
Yeah.
Did you keep going all the way up through 95 and
I mean I think the last show was it was either Vegas or Phoenix. Like we'd go to Compton Terrace, and then I think that they might have played at Desert Sky. It was called Desert Sky, but then I don't know what it's called now. But
that sounds familiar.
Compton Terrace was like just a dirty amphitheater. Like it was like some like some seats, and then like just this dirt. Like it was like a parking lot, like dirt parking lot, but that was the grass, right? And people would just it had like a chain link fence. Like that's all it had was a chain link fence. And people, as soon as it got dark, it's like people are hopping that thing. I hopped it one time, and then at Desert Sky I hopped it one time. That was a big wall, but I wouldn't do that now. It was different values.
Yeah. Well, yeah, of course. Yeah. I considered doing it, but I never did that. And I was at that Deer Creek show too, when, everybody started busting the gate down and coming through, or the fence.
Yeah.
That was a tough day.
The part about being young is that's where you learn about the bad choices that you make, or the, choices that you shouldn't be making.
You have to make those bad choices in order to make good choices later to learn.
And plus the good choices look so much better after you've made those bad choices.
That's right.
I don't know why I'm talking like Seinfeld.
That's
I know.
I know.
Well, I know.
What's the deal with that?
What's the deal? Yeah.
All right. So before we wrap up, I like to also ask about, is there anything that's been on your radar as far as like maybe a new band or some book you read or something that really you were like, wow, that's profound?
Well, I stumbled upon this podcast.
Very profound, no doubt.
Yeah, and look at now I own a Dark Star shirt, and it's like
from Shakedown T-shirts.
Yeah, I don't know if did we talk about this on here where we were talking about Truck It? Yeah, that's how I found it. But it's like to get to the point, I think it's a couple year stretch to get to the point where you're listening and liking Dark Star, right? Mm-hmm. Like Dark Star and the other one, and like those are the tougher ones to enjoy, I think, when they're not the ones that reach out and grab you. Right.
They don't,
like,
they don't have they don't have a
more. Right. It's like once I've got through everything, I need more. And then you're like, oh, I get it. Like with Fish, like if you play the whole, what's that, the whole story, I don't know what it's called. I can't remember what it's called. His master's thesis.
Game Hinge thing.
Yeah. Hinge thing. I think that's it's fun. And I think it's pretty cool, but you're probably not going to be pulled into Fish by listening to that. You're going to be like, what the hell is this? Right. Yeah. So like some of it is like a wine, right? Like it needs to age a little bit, or you need to age a little bit, maybe.
That's part of it too. Yeah. You have to just be in the right space and ready for it.
Yeah. So I got a bunch of shirts and I think they're awesome. So that's pretty cool.
Oh yeah. Love that.
What else? Yeah, I don't know. Books. I mean, I buy so many books, but mostly business books, like marketing stuff.
We got marketers on here, man. Lay it on us.
Lay it on
us. We got marketers listening to this show, right? There are people right now. I mean,
maybe everybody's heard of this. This was called
dude who's driving in your car right now on the way to work, who's working in marketing. This is for you.
I don't know. I just thought it was interesting. It's called 48 Laws of Power. And it's really cool. I mean, this guy is kind of, I guess he's a little controversial because the subject matters can be controversial, but it's like these laws. And then it's really interesting because he'll explain it and then categorize that thing. And then, or he'll have the judgment on it. Like here, law number 2, never put too much trust in friends, learn how to use enemies. And this is all as it relates to business, right? So judgment, be wary of friends. They'll betray you more quickly, for they are easily aroused to envy. They'll also become spoiled and tyrannical, but hire a former enemy and he will be more loyal than a friend because he has more to prove. In fact, you have more to fear from friends than from enemies. If you have no enemies, find a way to make them. And then he gives examples like mid-9th century Michael III assumed the throne of Byzantine Empire, and he'll explain like using this well and what happens, and then not using it well and what happens, but using history to explain it. So it's pretty cool. Like I thought it was like they're interesting concepts. You know, I don't know that maybe everyone is actually a law, but you know, it's an interesting read.
But you can see where it's coming from. At least.
My podcast, which I'm not going to talk about because of the things I've said. I'm actually doing 48 episodes on the 48 laws. So I'm doing one for each episode.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
Just talk about it. Cause it is interesting, you know, and you know, like you do the thing and you learn something, right? Like it's fun to do the podcast because you actually learn things from doing it from the people you meet. So
For sure. Yeah. That's why I asked that question. Cause people turn me on to all kinds of interesting things all the time.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, CP, thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate you coming on and telling your story. It's been fun.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Thank you so much. All right. Till next time.
I need to go because I want to go get a t-shirt.
Hey now, do you have a great story about a Grateful Dead show you were at? I'd love to hear it and maybe have you on the podcast. Send me an email at will@talesfromthelot.org and let me know what show you would like to talk about and what made it so special to you.